Caribbean businesses are playing among giants. Access to capital is an essential part of doing business. Businesses need access to debt, equity, credit, and smart capital. When we look at Guyana's stock exchange market, we can see that their market capitalization stands at a little below 2 billion US dollars. When we look at Trinidad and Tobago, which is the largest stock exchange market in the Caribbean Basin market capitalization, we can see that they have about $17.65 billion under asset management. Now, when we look at the United States of America, we are seeing that they have approximately 25.9 trillion US dollars in market capitalization. This definitely speaks of a tremendous capital advantage. Among Caribbean nations, it is absolutely necessary for us to raise and amplify the conversation around capital markets and capital access for businesses. The life, the success, the growth, and regional and international integration of businesses depends on access to capital. We at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branded and Marketing LLC out of New York invite you to join this conversation. Be blessed and see you on the other side. Top 100 companies are able to generate between 6 billion and 220 billion annually in US dollars. Now, there are reasons why they're able to do this. They invest the time, talent, and the resources to understand some essential ecosystems that literally gives them that springboard to grow, diversify, and integrate their brands across region and across the world. We at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branded and Marketing LLC out of New York, we have studied this phenomenon. And as such, we are prepared to bring you a number of groundbreaking data that can really help to tweak the way you see business and position you to adopt a different type of leadership. So eventually, you may become one of those companies or some of those companies who can play it at that international level, where your brand can now be positioned to generate billions of dollars in annual revenue. Today, we want to reintroduce you to one of those ecosystems. Every business should really take the time to understand business success ecosystem. A new book is going to be out very soon where you're going to have an in-depth knowledge about this. But today, we will be looking at one of those ecosystems. And this ecosystem is titled Proactive and Visionary Leaders Ecosystem, or Proactive and Visionary Leadership Ecosystem. My promise to you is that micro, small, medium, and large scale businesses needs to know more about proactive leadership, visionary leadership ecosystem, because this can be a game changer. Now, in today's broadcast, just let me walk you through the table of content. We would be discussing the proactive leaders and visionary leadership ecosystem, proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem. And along with this, we will associate this conversation to your CFO, your Chief Financial Officer. We will associate this discussion to your market research and market intelligence department. We will associate this conversation to R&D, research and development, and products and service innovation. And last but not least, we will also associate this discussion to the HR department, the Human Resource Management Department. I want to assure you that you don't want to miss this, because I will be giving you a number of transformational approaches in how you can adopt these systems to your organization to ensure that you're 5 steps ahead of the competition. However, just before I get into today's program, do permit me to introduce myself. My name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm the self-published best-selling author for several books, including Manager's Toolkit and Billionaire Codes. I'm also the author for the new book titled 10X Branding and Marketing Blueprint, The Psychology of Business. You don't want to miss this, because this here is where you're going to have the ecosystem. You're going to learn about system value proposition 101, and you will also learn about the 10X Wealth Leadership Blueprint. Now, if you're in business and you intend to get into business, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share, and so you can be the first to get this information that we are bringing to you on a regular basis. All right. Now, I begin today's discussion. How much do you know about business success ecosystem? In my new book, 10X Branding and Marketing Blueprint, we introduce you to what is known as the 6 ecosystem of successful brands. Today, we will be doing a little deep dive into one of those ecosystems, and that ecosystem today is called proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem. Now, what exactly do I mean by this terminology, proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem? Of course, this is a term that has been coined by yours truly, and we are now amplifying visibility behind this terminology. Now, a proactive leader has 3 essential characteristics. One, the proactive leader is able to think ahead. The proactive leader, they're able to see beyond problems. And the proactive leaders, they are able to take informed action to achieve desired results. Now, in terms of business, whether you are a micro, small, medium, or a large-scale entrepreneur, your strategic, tactical, and operational team, they must, at different level, be able to learn, apply, and master proactive leadership, proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem. Now, what exactly does the term thinking ahead mean? It simply means the application of your creative thinking ability that allows you to see the beginning, the end, and the center of a given process. A typical example that we give is that a building contractor, before he starts the building process, he has a clear mental picture of all of the pieces that has to come together for that puzzle to work effectively. The same process applies with the proactive leader as it relates to thinking ahead. Thinking ahead allows you to have a clear mental picture of where you want to go, how you're going to get there, why you want to get there, and how you are going to get there. So it's important for you to understand these systems. Now let's take, for example, in your department, you have your CFO, your financial chief financial officer. The question that I want to ask is, are you creating the exposure for your chief financial officer to understand how to apply the proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem to their specific department? And permit me to explain. The role of the CFO in today's world should never be restricted to just looking at income, expenditures, and balance sheet. It is my firm belief, after studying the top 100 companies in the world, that it is absolutely necessary for the CFO, Certified Public Accountant, Chief Financial Officer, your financial advisor, or financial specialist, to go a little deeper. And by this, what do I mean? It is important for them to understand corporate financing. It is important for them to understand trading and market. It is important for them to understand investment management. Now, if this is considered work overload, it simply means that you need to have another subject matter expert that can work hand in hand with your CFO. And what I will do now is attempt to give some justification for what I'm saying. Every business needs access to capital, micro, small, medium, and large scale businesses. Some businesses need it more than others. But what is the reality is that very often, many businesses struggle to raise capital. And even when you raise the capital, there is not much conversation about debt mitigation strategies. So these are important tenets of the proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem that we work with your team to understand. Now let's go a little deeper here. When we talk of corporate financing, we are talking about the debt capital market. We're talking about the equity capital market. We're talking about the credit capital market. And we're also talking about the smart capital market. Of course, there's not much conversation around smart capital. We will get into all of this when we start to do that group session or one-on-one session, which will ensure that you understand this. But as we talk about capital markets and corporate finance, it is very important for you to understand the range of portfolios that exist. Let's take, for example, if you talk about the debt capital market, there is more than one debt portfolio for you to understand. There is one business loan, there is personal loan, there is HELOC, and there is BLOC. Now, and there are major differences between each of these. One of these debt portfolio is calculated based on amortized collateralized interest. It's compounded interest, while the other is calculated at simple interest. The modern CFO, the modern financial specialist needs to understand this. And this knowledge must be translated and applied not only at the debt capital market, but it must be translated and applied across the board, talking about equity capital market and credit capital market. And as we talk about the portfolios that exist, it's important to understand how to access it, because very often we see that sometimes in the debt capital market, smaller businesses have a tremendous difficulties accessing the portfolios. Big businesses, medium-sized businesses, and some of the big businesses, they still struggle to, access equity capital market. So understanding the strategic approaches to leverage in order to access debt, equity, and credit capital market is a subject matter that has to be amplified. The question again, are your CFOs, your certified public accountants, are they seeing through this entire process? We believe it's necessary. Why? Because we believe it's a necessary means to give businesses a tremendous competitive advantage when it comes to playing the financial game. We may be able to amplify conversation around local content, but guess what? If businesses are not getting an access to capital to leverage the opportunities that can present itself as local content policies begin to play out, it can leave them nowhere. They're at a disadvantage in terms of, talking about equal opportunities in terms of local content. But that opportunities can present itself, and you still do not have access to capital to leverage those opportunities. This, again, is another justification for arguments why the financial specialist has to evolve beyond just income expenditure balance sheet, that is to go deeper into understanding corporate financial portfolios. And that applies to debt capital, equity capital, credit capital, and smart capital. I want to push the seal of the envelope a little more, because it's not just about understanding the portfolios, understanding how to access the portfolio, understanding how to leverage the portfolio, but it's understanding how to mitigate these portfolios. What exactly do I mean by the term mitigation? You take a debt that's called your principal balance, that has a life cycle. Over the life cycle of that debt, you have interest rates that you're going to be saddled with for the life cycle. But in mitigation strategists, a financial mitigation strategist will be able to work with you on a number of fronts. One is to position you to understand the debt portfolio based on the debt life cycle. And knowing that the debt life cycle ultimately influences the debt cost over the debt life cycle, they also work with you to also understand how to mitigate not only the debt life cycle, but the debt cost. And here is where you can be placed in a strategic position to reduce your overheads or reduce the debt cost by hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of dollars over the life cycle of that debt. And here is where we believe a lot of conversation has to be amplified when it comes to positioning businesses to achieve the financial competitive advantage. It is no longer just about understanding capital portfolio. It is no longer just about understanding how to access those portfolios. It is no longer just about understanding how to leverage these portfolios back into the primary source of income for that business. But it's equally important to understand how to mitigate this process that can save you as an entrepreneur hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars on the debt portfolio. That simply means that you will have hundreds of thousands of dollars and perhaps millions of dollars to pump back into business development. Those excess funds can go into a number of areas: research and development, new product innovation, opening new brands for strategic positioning, providing a social safety net for the workforce. A range of different things can be accomplished because you're able to free up these kinds of capital. And in pushing the seal of the envelope a little more, it is important not only to understand corporate financing, but it's equally important to also understand trading in markets and also investment management. Now, I'm going to be brief here again. When we talk of trading in markets, we are talking about asset management portfolios. We are talking about SWF, sovereign wealth funds. We are talking about pension funds and insurance funds. We are talking about high net worth and super high net worth individual. And of course, the businesses across the world, you fall into this category. But do you know how to leverage your excess liquidity into trading and market, into asset management? Perhaps this is a particular area that can be looked at. So of course, in the unique programs that we have designed at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York, we will expose you to these kinds of information and give you the technical support to ensure that you can build out your institution to benefit from these platforms. Now, the world is faced with a global pandemic. At the beginning of this pandemic, we recognized that hundreds and thousands of businesses across the world, they were closing doors, they were folding, they were panicking. Cash flow began to dry up. Economies were closing their doors too. But I want to say this to you, the top 100 companies, they definitely wasn't in panic mode because they were able to apply proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem. And what that is thinking ahead, seeing beyond problems, and taking informed action to achieve desired results. They were able to do this. Are you able to apply this to the life of your business? Are you able to think through your business cash flow protection game plan? Are you able to think through your business paycheck protection game plan? Are you able to think through the personal paycheck protection game plan? And these things can be set up for your company at zero cost to your company. And this again is why I simply want to say the CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, the Certified Public Accountants, your financial advisors, and financial specialists has to be somewhat versed in these different areas that is being talked about here today to ensure that your company is getting the best representation when it comes to capital access, capital leverage, and debt mitigation. In the absence of this, it simply means that you're not leaving the crumbs on the table, but you're leaving the whole pie cake on the table when it comes to smart debt leverage and debt mitigation. And again, we at Global Capital Inc. and at 10X Branded Marketing LLC, we have studied the top 100 companies. We have spent over 20 years digging deep into these realities just to ensure that we can bring a healthy, strong content to you that can really help you to make the impact that you deserve to make. So this ecosystem, this business success ecosystem, is one that I trust that you do not take for granted. It talks about proactive leadership. It talks about visionary leadership. It talks about knowing that ecosystem, adopting that ecosystem, learning and mastering that ecosystem in such a way to ensure that you can now compete and win at an international level. So let's move on to look at the second department that we're going to call research and market research and market intelligence department. Are you applying proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem to market research and market intelligence? And I raise this point largely because of what we are seeing. We're seeing hundreds, thousands of entrepreneurs, micro, small, and medium-sized businesses that get into the space of doing business, but you're not thinking ahead, except that you know you want to develop the business. But a desire to develop a brand is not enough reasons to get into business. It's definitely not enough reasons to get into business, because you can have a failed brand. Perhaps you can fail from the time you said ready, set, go, because of the fact that you are not applying the appropriate techniques and ecosystems to doing business. One of the first things that you need to think about in this regard, market research and market intelligence, is to ensure that you are market sensitive. You're positioned in a strategic position of strength to be market sensitive. And what exactly do I mean by this? Do you understand the market needs? Do you understand the market wants? Do you understand the market expectations? Do you understand the market size? Do you understand the market density? Do you understand the market dispersion? Now, it is only by understanding these things you can now predetermine the market viability. If you're getting into the market and you are not market sensitive, it means that you're playing the guess game. And if you play the guess game, you are setting yourself up to fail from the time you say mark, set, and go. So again, when you come into this program and we introduce you to this ecosystem, proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem, we help you to understand the importance of all of these things. And beyond understanding the importance, we help you to adopt it, apply it, and master it throughout this particular department. So you are not in business based on speculative data. You are not just dependent on outdated secondary data, but you can do a fair degree of primary market research that allows you to become market sensitive. So you now know your target market, you know their needs, their wants, and their expectations. You understand your market size, you understand the market density and the market geographical dispersion. Based on the market size, you can now predetermine the viability of that market and if it makes any sense to get into that market. So understanding this, how the ecosystem applies this particular department is necessary. You need to put yourself in a position of strength where you understand your market and you know for sure what are their needs, what are their wants, what are their expectations. You understand what are the market size, density, and dispersion. I can't emphasize this enough because I'm seeing too many businesses that are out there, and you're setting yourself up to fail. The facts are sure that it takes about 5 years to break even. But if you get into business and you do not have this information, you're going to prolong the break-even point. And this is exactly why over 50% of those businesses that get started fail within the first 5 years. Our mission is to provide you with the kind of information that will stop that kind of hemorrhaging where you fail. We're going to give you the best advice, mentorship, coaching, and support to ensure that you succeed. But beyond surviving and succeeding, because the fact that we study business and industries across the world, we will be able to give you ecosystems, socialize you to the most modern ecosystem, business success ecosystem, that's going to set you apart from the competition and ensure that you are a leader in your game. You're the kind of entrepreneur who understands proactive leadership, and you can think ahead. You can see beyond problems. You can take informed action to achieve desired results. So 2 things you want to be here. You want to be market sensitive and market oriented. Market orientation simply means that you commit the time to understand what are the market needs. And market orientation simply means now that you are adopting the entire organization culture to comply with those needs that are out there. Market sensitive and market oriented. You want to apply the proactive and visionary leadership to this entire process here. If you are not applying this to your business model, the possibility exists that you're not going to succeed. You're not thinking ahead. You're not seeing beyond problems. You're not taking informed action as it relates to your business potential to cash flow. What's your market size? What's the market monthly consumption, daily consumption, annual consumption? What is the market annual expenditure in your particular field of business? What are the competition? What are the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats? And how are you positioning your brand to stand out among the strongest player in the market? What is your market differentiating factors? How are you up-leveling awareness surrounding that market differentiation factor so as to ensure that you're strategically positioned in that market? So there are a number of things that's important for you to think about as you get into this business space. And again, as you position yourself to apply proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem, to think ahead, to see beyond, to take informed action to achieve desired results, you need to commit the time. Subject yourself to understanding how to learn, apply, and master these tools into your business. And again, this is why we are here at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York, is to ensure that we give you enough tools for you to win, give you the mentorship, the coaching, and the support to ensure that you have a winning brand. The next department that I want you to apply this ecosystem to is what we're going to call the research and development, R&D, research and development, the innovation department, the department of innovation. This department must be able to work with market research and market intelligence. And when we talk here about research and development, it's important in this space that you ensure that your department heads are the game changers, the dream makers, and the trendsetters. And of course, we're talking about product innovation. We're talking about service innovation. We are talking of breaking old culture where 90% of business is done surrounding redistribution, and there is no significant innovation that is taking place. Here is where we start to socialize you to new ways of thinking. Proactive leaders, proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem. In your institution, at some point of the life of your business, you want to be certain that you are not just reselling products that are on the market. You want to know that you can play in the space where your department that looks at products and service innovation, they are innovating new products. That brands your company. It brands your company. It makes your team feel good about themselves. So we're speaking here about developing a middle-income economy. Perhaps the innovation conversation around products and services has to be amplified a little bit more. Of course, in our program, we talk about this because it is necessary. We saw what happened, very often. When the developed world, when FDI comes to play your space, and you're buying from those FDIs to import, to resell, they can play at a level that you can't play at. If they decide to compete with you, they can beat you in price. All right, they can beat you at quality customer care. They can beat you at, a range of, ecosystems that you cannot compete with because you are simply a reseller. There's nothing wrong with reseller, but we're simply saying to you that in the line of business, in terms of looking at global business and globalization of business, it makes sense to bring yourself to that point where you can truly talk about your brand becoming a game changer, a dream maker, a trendsetter. Of course, we are fully aware that the high energy costs, sometimes high labor costs, and a range of other factors may be the barrier. But I'm quite certain in this program, we will show you how to think ahead, see beyond problems, and take informed action to achieve desired results. So understanding this business success ecosystem, and the first ecosystem that we talk about is the proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem, will walk you through this. As we present the solution and you present the problems, we will reinforce practical steps that you can take to do business. At this level, it's very important that your products and service innovators can position themselves to become those global thinkers and those social actors and those transformational leaders. This is absolutely necessary in doing business today, in doing business and building your brand to be able to compete and win at an international level. You want to focus on these things, all right? So, of course, when we talk about business success ecosystem, and we talk about the very first ecosystem, which is proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem. This is a part of the face that this subject matter represents. And this is relevant to every single department in your organization. Your team leaders must be trained, must be socialized to start thinking like the proactive, visionary leaders. They're thinking ahead, they're seeing beyond problems, they're taking informed action to achieve desired results. They are thinking like the game changers, the dream makers, and the trendsetters. They are the global thinkers, the social actors, and the transformational leaders. Just think about what this body of knowledge can do for your team. All right, where your team members, they're socialized to seriously up-level the way they think. All right, you are proactive. You're not waiting for market forces to force you to rethink, because now you are trained to be proactive. So you are now become a force onto yourself, where you're influencing change within your organization culture. You're influencing change within your industry. You're influencing change within your nation. And perhaps you may be influencing change across the world. Think ahead, see beyond problems, and take informed actions to achieve desired results. This is a super ecosystem, and I believe that micro, small, medium, and large-scale businesses, it would not hurt to be exposed to this new ecosystem that we are talking about. Now, I will associate one more department to this ecosystem that we call it proactive and visionary leaders ecosystem. And that department that we're going to be looking at lastly is HR, human resource management. Now, is your HR department trained to be proactive, or are they trained to be reactive? How are you dealing with absenteeism and staff turnover? Now, this is a big problem for thousands, 100,000, perhaps millions of businesses across the world. You have absenteeism, you have staff turnover. How does this affect the face of your organization? When the communication channel is interrupted, it affects the face of your organization in many ways. You cannot deliver on time. Customers become frustrated. Customers has option in a competitive world to buy from another reliable supplier. It could affect their business in so many different ways. Cash flow can start to eventually affect when your key personnel are absent, when you lose the key personnel in your organization. These are important things to not react to, but you want to be proactive in thinking about absenteeism and staff turnover. All right, and there are ways in which you can go about this. Now, I want to say this. We often talk about this. It is absolutely necessary in building out your corporate culture, your business value proposition, to build it out in a way to ensure that you're having impact And we normally talk about the 4 areas of impact. You want to impact the workforce. You want to impact the specific target market. You want to impact the public, and you want to impact the cash flow potential of the organization. But let's talk very briefly about impact. What impact do you want to make on your workforce? Is the impact strong enough to reduce absenteeism and staff turnover? If not, why not? You're supposed to know that. If you don't know why not, I want to encourage you again to connect with us so we can share with you the heavy research that we are doing to really get you past this particular hurdle that is hurting the face of your organization and hurting the cash flow potential of your organization. Now, something that's important that we want to talk about is what we call partial self-actualization. And here is where the organization culture is built out in such a way to impact the workforce, where you are getting selective workplace self-actualization. Now, what exactly do I mean by this selective self-actualization? I need to know that my marketing manager and my marketing team is exposed to the highest level of sales communication and marketing techniques. They are spending enough time to understand their target market needs, wants, and expectations. And they are taking that data and they are building this out into effective advertising, copywriting, branding material. I need to know that they understand effective communication channels and the right communication channels. And they know how to filter information throughout those channels so as to ensure that you are achieving the dash mile of advertising, the highest level of effect, the highest level of results in the advertising process. So you equip them with a tool so they become subject matter expert in how they execute their task. They must be able to effectively maneuver themselves around this independently at the highest level. The programs that we have designed will give you that blueprint to ensure that you're getting this kind of departmental self-actualization with your workforce. And of course, it goes deeper than this, because we often say people can never go beyond their sense of self. It doesn't matter what you do. If that individual don't have a strong sense of self, can't get past self-confidence and self-application, you have issues. What this blueprint does, it breaks those barriers and really set that stage to ensure that at this level, this HR level, this human resource development level, this human impact level, you have all of the tools to ensure that you're boosting performance. What is relevant to the marketing and sales department is relevant across the board of the organization, where we are talking about selective self-actualization. Is the HR department thinking ahead, seeing beyond problems, and taking informed action to achieve a desired end results in this particular case? If not, why not? You should know why. And if you don't know why, again, my advice is to encourage you to reach out to us at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branded and Marketing LLC out of New York. We're here to serve you. I want to assure you that we have done tremendous research across the world, tremendous studies. We have a team of certified public accountants. We have a team of economists, we have a team of business consultants, we have a team of those persons who are playing in the corporate financial space. We have a team of lawyers that will be working with you to ensure that you get the best advice to grow, scale, diversify, and more so, integrate your brand across region and across the world. Today, business is not enough for you to think domestic production and domestic consumption. The world is becoming more and more a smaller place where bigger businesses are integrated with brands across the world. And they're coming with capital, they're coming with culture, they're coming with all the necessary tools to ensure that they can integrate into the market. But because they're coming with a higher level of thinking than you, they're coming with capital, they're coming with critical human resources, they can quickly box you in and squeeze you in and push you out of the market. So you don't wait to proact. You don't wait to react. You have to put yourself in a position of strength where you're always proactive when it comes to doing business. Again, it's not enough for us to discuss local content. Divorce from discussing access to capital, a mixed capital market where that is necessary to stimulate the effective utilization of the opportunities that will present themselves when local content policies are in place. My friends, I trust that you would have enjoyed today's discussion. We talk about one of the business success ecosystem. Today we discuss proactive and visionary leadership ecosystem. And my wish, my biggest vision is that businesses across the world, micro, small, medium, and some of the large ones who are perhaps not in this category, can adopt these concepts that we are presenting to you. Some of them are very new research, and adopt them. And of course, we have the book and we have the masterclasses, the executive masterclasses that we will be rolling out on a daily basis to ensure that we are impacting your business. So my advice is that if you like what you're hearing and you want to go beyond just hearing, but you now want to learn more and adopt this to your organization, I want to encourage you to reach out to us. All right, remember the way that we go about providing training, we start with the end results in mind, and we build systems to ensure that you get to that end result. So if you want to increase the business cash flow, we clearly identify the amount of cash flow you're looking for, and we build out the systems to get you there, and we give you that support to get there. If you want to integrate your brand locally, regionally, and beyond, our team of subject matter experts begin with the end in mind. And we help you build out the system, work with your team to help you get there. All right, so remember, let this be a conversation. I want to encourage you to use the chat box and give me your views, make your comments, and let's have that healthy conversation. Again, you're in business or intend to get into business, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. So one, you will be the first to get this information that we bring it to you on a regular basis. And two, you will help us to reach more people and certainly activate that algorithm some more. Again, my name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature. and I'm the self-published best-selling author for several books, including Manager's Toolkits, Billionaire Codes, and my last book titled 10X Branding and Marketing Blueprint, The Psychology of Doing Business. And you don't want to miss out on this book. Be blessed and see you in the next broadcast. Caribbean businesses are playing among giants. Access to capital is an essential part of doing business. Businesses need access to debt, equity, credit. We can see that their market capitalization stands at a little below $2 billion US dollars. When we look at Trinidad and Tobago, which is the largest stock exchange market in the Caribbean basin market capitalization, we can see that they have about $17.65 billion under asset management. Now, when we look at the United States of America, we are seeing that they have approximately 25.9 trillion US dollars in market capitalization. This definitely speaks of a tremendous capital advantage. Among Caribbean nations, it is absolutely necessary for us to raise and amplify the conversation around capital markets and capital access for businesses. The life, the success, the growth, and regional and international integration of businesses depends on access to capital. We at Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York invite you to join this conversation. Be blessed and see you on the other side.